Welcome to the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast. This is a podcast for women who are ready to ditch diets, ditch the scale, and food guilt forever, and instead invite peace with food, body trust, and confidence in all of your choices. This show will shed some light on sneaky ways diet culture has infiltrated your thoughts, your family, and your well-being. I believe that no matter the episode, you'll walk away feeling informed, inspired, and encouraged. I'm your host, Jennifer D'Amato. I'm a certified intuitive eating counselor, coach, a mom of 4 daughters, a lover of all things pink, and I can't wait to dive into each and every episode with you. Let's dive in now. Well, hey ladies, mixing things up a little bit around here, putting the intro first. It's pretty early in the morning. It's been when I've been recording lately, it's quiet in the house. There's maybe 1 kid up and 2 dogs. So it's just easier to record this early. I've got my cup of coffee here and a story to start with. So when I was thinking about this topic of the weight loss fantasy, I started trying to, think of another area where I've kind of held on to a fantasy. And the thing that came to mind was when I was having my first child. So if this is your first time listening, I have 4 daughters, and I've had all 4 of those daughters via C-section. Yeah. Not ideal, definitely was not in the plan, but the last child I had was almost 11 years ago. I'm pretty far removed from caring about how they got here. I'm just glad they're here and that they're healthy, and their birth stories are all, ones of mostly peace, mostly. The first one though, I spent a lot of time, like 9 months, picturing how that first birth would go. Like I created a fantasy in my mind of how, I was even going to look, what it was going to be like, all of my choices, this birth plan. I had conjured up quite the most amazing fantasy. And there's nothing wrong with that, in the planning and the dreaming and the envisioning of that, it was part of the process. But I ended up in a situation where I could have put my daughter in jeopardy had I stuck to this fantasy. If I had said no, the fantasy is what's important. I'm holding on to something I've conjured up in my mind, but reality was very different. When it became very obvious that this sweet child thought it better to stay inside my body and said, I'm not moving, I had to look at the reality. I had to let go of the fantasy that I was going to have this natural childbirth. It wasn't reality. And, for a long time, I struggled with that. I actually got pregnant with our second born when our firstborn was 10 months old. Yeah, they're only 19 months apart. And I wouldn't go back and change a single thing about that. But I had to really do some work on the fantasy as soon as I got pregnant with our second. I really needed to let go of the fantasy of how childbirth was going to go. So you may be faced with letting go of the fantasy of weight loss. We conjure up these ideas in our head, and it's not all in your own head. There's messages everywhere about what you will get, what you will receive, who you will be when you lose the weight. I mean, we're surrounded by these sneaky diet messages. One in particular, when it comes to the fantasy, is that new you, right? I'm air quoting, right? You'll have a new you. It's the fantasy. If we lose the weight, we're going to be a new version of ourselves. I am all about evolving, growing, learning, stretching ourselves, becoming the best version of ourselves. However, we spend a large portion of our life with weight loss being the path to the best version of ourselves. Like we believe if I'm going to be the best version of myself, it involves being in a smaller body. It can be hard to let go of the fantasy of what weight loss will bring to our life. I chased the ideal for a very long time. I chased the fantasy. And very much like the fantasy I was holding on to with the birth of my firstborn, I never got there. Reality set in. When it came to losing weight, I can distinctly remember thinking, this is it, and that this isn't enough. It's never going to be enough. Like, wait a minute, why isn't the entire world opening up to me? Why don't I feel better? Why am I still like picking my body apart, every inch of it? It was never enough. Even if we know that diets don't work, if you're in that place, you've done a lot of the work, right, to get to the place of letting go of the diet culture and mentality and chasing the ideal, we can stay stuck in the diet mentality if we're holding on to any part of that fantasy. I think about that childbirth, and I could have done harm had I held on to the fantasy. And I know for myself, when it came to my own story with weight loss, I was doing harm to my body in the name of health. Now, I want to give you a few questions here to think about when it comes to letting go of the weight loss fantasy, when it comes to exploring this in your own life and in your own thoughts. Now, if you really want to dig into it, I recommend journaling about them. So this could be the kind of podcast episode where you re-listen, or maybe you talk out loud. Maybe you're driving and you just kind of have it, or you're washing dishes, but then you want to go back to it and kind of sit down with these. Write it out. There's something amazing that happens when we put pen to paper. Now, before I share those, I want to remind you, I am actually running my Build a Better Body Image event again from May 1st to May 5th. Now, I ran this back in November. It is the same event, but I also know weather is warming up here in Arizona. And if it hasn't where you are right now, I'm guessing it will be soon, eventually. I know the messaging about bodies this time of the year is telling you that you need to get your summer body ready. And if you're on social media, you might even feel overwhelmed by the number of influencers or just even friends and family that are sharing their favorite shorts and bathing suits right now. I want to give you the tools, the strategies, and support to build a better body image as we enter into the summer season. Now, like I said, I ran this event back in November of 2021, and it was so helpful to women. This time around, I'm actually making it even better. Every time I think about that, I'm always like, that song, Level Up, like that's just in my head. How can I make this better for you? So if you joined before, you may want to do it again. I actually know there's women who already have done that. They've already jumped in again. I know for sure I'm actually participating in each of the 5 days because I always find it reaffirming and like a huge self-hug. Like I just feel better when I press into this, remind myself. And like I said, I've been out buying shorts and some dresses and tank tops and bathing suits and all of the things. So I know for me, when those thoughts kind of creep in, I love having these strategies and tools right there. So this time around, I'm actually running this 5-day event on my private app. And I decided to add a brand new resource for the 5-day event. It was not available in November, but it is my fashion follow guide for social media. So, women in all size bodies and budgets that I follow and recommend to clients who ask me, that will be available to you in the 5-day event. I love seeing clothing on real bodies, on bodies that are like mine. And I'm maybe not the most fashionable person out there. I know I'm not, and I'm okay with it. But I like getting ideas and going, oh, I wouldn't have even thought to try that on. That looks really cute. And if our bodies have changed, our style may change. And I really find it helpful to have some people who do the work for me, kind of like my own fashion consultant, right on social media. And these also, if you have this as a resource, these are great accounts to follow to help you increase seeing all body sizes. So all you have to do is head to www.healthcoachforlife.com/better-body-image. It's like all one word. Wherever you're listening to the podcast, you can also click in the show notes to join us. There's materials already ready for you when you join, and we kick things off officially May 1st. So don't hesitate to get in there today, pause the podcast, hop on, join. I'd love to have you. Okay, so here are some journaling questions for you to help you detach from the weight loss fantasy. First, I want you to explore what are your general beliefs about weight loss? Just anything and everything that comes up for you when you think about weight loss. It's not specific to you, but just in a general sense. Maybe there's messages that come up. Maybe there are thoughts about what's going to happen or how people are viewed when they lose weight. And once you kind of explore that for a little bit, I do want you to then kind of turn it around on yourself and say, okay, what do I believe about my own weight loss? If I lost weight or I've lost weight in the past or, anything to do with my own story, what do I believe about that? And you can be like me, like I believe the whole world's going to open up to me. I'm going to be, never going to criticize my body. Those are the kind of thoughts that you might believe. Then I want you to take a moment and just ask yourself when you look at each of those beliefs, and maybe you have a list of 2, maybe you have a list of 20, but look at each of those and just ask yourself, where did this belief come from? And you can do this with your general beliefs, but you can also really dig in deeper with yourself and asking yourself, where do these beliefs come from? Why do I believe that when I lose all the weight, I won't critique my body? Like, why? Where did that come from? Now, after you spend some time there, ask yourself, how do I fantasize that my life will change if I pursue weight loss? So it's kind of, you could look at it this way. If I go on a diet, what do I believe will happen? What's the fantasy attached to the next diet? I mean, there is always a level of fantasy with the next diet. We really wouldn't do it, right? We're believing something is going to happen when we go on that diet, when we pursue weight loss. Now you've already taken that look. Now again, like I said, this is kind of the kind of work you might want to just rewind, go back, boop, 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 and re-listen and write. I notice when my clients kind of press into the work and they write things down, they're kind of like, whoa, I can't believe what just came out of me. I can't believe that's the thought I'm having. I personally am not like a big journaler just to journal, but when I need to work through some thoughts, writing it down is what I need to do. I need to actually, it's like take the thoughts out of my brain, put them on the paper, and then look at them. It's like I get to observe my own thoughts. That's what's happening here. Now, I want you to ask yourself another question. How have your beliefs about weight loss affected you? So go back to those beliefs. Now I want you to look at what's the impact those thoughts have had. When I think about that, when I believed I wouldn't critique my body and then I lost weight and still critiqued my body, I can tell you the effect was disappointment, pain. I felt defeated. That's how it affected me. You could even look at it from the perspective of, did I put any aspects of my life on hold until I lost weight? Did I put off pursuing a relationship, a new job? Did I not participate in certain activities because I said, well, when I lose the weight? So did you lose out? I often hear when it comes to this from clients, I'm not in any photos. Like I'm not in any photos with my own children for those memories, for them to have, because I wouldn't be in a photo. Lastly, ask yourself, what if I accepted my here and now body, the body I'm in right now, without pursuing changing this body? What would my life look like? How might I show up every day? What things would I participate in that I'm maybe not right now? So if I accept my here and now body, if I'm okay, if I've let go of the fantasy, right? That's what we're talking about here in this last part. What might change in your life? What might you do? What might you not do? What would life look like if your here and now body was a body that you appreciated, respected, had gratitude for? Now, that may be a struggle to get there. And I want to tell you in the event I shared earlier, that's our focus: gratitude and respect, appreciation. I actually share why I don't pursue body positivity in this event. I feel pretty strongly about it and give my reasoning of why we don't pursue that and kind of its faults and what to do instead. But I want women to accept the body, the here and now, so that they can live their life, so that you can do all the things that maybe you've been putting off. So again, I just want to remind you, go back. If you kind of skirted through this and, maybe you're like me and you listen to podcasts on a little bit higher speed. I'm like a 1.25 person. Go back, sit down with some pen and paper. You don't have to have a fancy journal. You can grab some, scrap paper out of the recycle bin. That's what I do. And write and let these thoughts out and explore them for yourself. Then I'd love to have you join us for the Better Body Image event. All the links are below. If you have questions about it, don't hesitate to reach out. But I would love to see women living this summer, truly living in their body as it is right now without pursuing something that never gets them what they really want anyway. All right, ladies, I've enjoyed this conversation. I am excited to have you join us for the 5-day event and join you right back here next week on the podcast.